we were sleeping, and I'd say at around 4 in the morning, we just heard a Hello friends, I'm back and I have power tools. I don't actually need this drill bit, it just looks really cool and menacing and I wanted it for my intro. Let's go ahead and turn this off here. Okay, now let's install a closet. I probably shouldn't have done that so close to my eyeball, actually. Don't do what I just did. Hello. So last week we scoured Facebook Marketplace, which is one of our favorite activities, and we were able to find somebody selling this really old solid oak wall closet system for 15 bucks. So we thought, perfect. I need a closet for cheap. That is the beauty of using things like, OfferUp or Let Go or Facebook Marketplace or just taking a trip to the thrift store, is being able to find something that you need at just a fraction of the cost. So a closet organizer system for 15 bucks sounded really awesome. Almost too good to be true, but keep in mind we did just get a fabulous new dresser for $1, so the stuff checks out. That being said, Jeremy went to pick up the closet, brought it back home, and when we went to assemble it, it didn't work out too well. Turns out it was missing a pretty important feature, which was the directions. So basically we paid $15 for a puzzle that may or may not become a closet at the end. See, when you buy from a place like IKEA, you can always go onto the IKEA website and just download PDFs of the instructions that you need. However, this closet was made by a company called Closet Butler, and they seem to no longer exist. So obtaining the directions to this closet proved a little difficult. We tried to see if we could just more or less figure it out without instructions, and once again, that did not work out too well. So we decided to kind of scrap it and look elsewhere. And just a couple of days ago, we went and picked up a wire closet system from someone who sold it for 20 bucks. Now, this is just one of those, like Rubbermaid or Closet Made or, any of those typical wire shelving systems that you can get pretty much anywhere. I was really hesitant to get one at first because it felt like it wasn't gonna fit the theme of what I was trying to do for my room. When I think of more fanciful aesthetics like Rococo or French country or Victorian, white wire shelving isn't exactly the first thing that comes to mind. But for my purposes and for the size of my room and what my room is looking like now, and for what I need as far as storage, and that is to say, I desperately need a closet, I haven't had much luck. The first thing fell through. The closet system that I wanted to get from IKEA isn't available at my local IKEA. I was 0 for 2, and when I saw this, I thought, you know what? Let me just go ahead and get it. I think finally what forced me into making a decision sooner rather than later is that we were sleeping, and I'd say at around 4 in the morning, we just heard a Turns out the portable closet rack that I was using just broke. The base snapped and the entire thing just toppled over and fell to the floor. So basically, all my clothes were in a giant heap on the floor. Fortunately, I had just picked this up the night before. So I did some research, and after looking up ways to sort of mask or decorate wire shelving, I decided that I was going to go ahead and, prior to installing it, jazz it up a little bit. So we're going to give this boring old wire shelving a DIY facelift with spray paint. Now I just need to pick a color. I was planning on using copper rose because I came up with some ideas to kind of mix copper and blush together. But then once I got to the hardware store and this very helpful person located this, the exact color that I needed, not 3 seconds later did he go ahead and inform me that this color, Desert Rose Gold, also existed. And being that cans of spray paint are only about $7 each, I clearly just had to go ahead and buy both. I'm wondering what would happen if I just sort of mix the two?
Both is good.
Being a Gemini sucks sometimes because making decisions like this is really hard. For this project, we're going to need an open, ventilated space. Fortunately, I have access to a rooftop. Well, for the most part, I'd say it's a success so far. I will say there were some casualties, it looks like. But as for my spray paint mixing experiment, it looks pretty good so far. I'm actually really liking this effect. All I can do now, I think, is just let it dry. Hopefully it won't like rain or snow or anything. But the sun's getting real low right now. So it's probably time for me to head back in, maybe do some editing whilst I wait for this to dry, which should take 30 minutes to handle in 1 hour and fully dry in 24 hours. Apply a second coat within 1 hour after 48 hours. Okay, well, I guess I'll check back in after just reading these instructions for the first time. I probably should have done that before I started spraying, but what can I say? I was really excited. As my first foray into spray painting goes, I feel like it could have been a lot worse. I did go to art school, which did not at all prepare me for spray painting things. But I'll take a break. If there's still enough light outside, I'll try and quickly flip a few pieces over just to get the undersides. I'm most concerned about the actual poles, the clothing rods. Ideally, I would have had some way to stand them upright, so I could have painted around them all in one go. I guess for the time being now, I'll just have to give them enough time to dry, roll them over, get the underside, and hopefully it'll look even and I won't get some wood line. But if I do, I guess I'll go ahead and Google how to fix that. If you have any tips and tricks for handling spray paint, please let me know in the comments below. I would super appreciate it. I can always go back and redo it, right? Meanwhile, we also built a closet in the bedroom. Okay, I said meanwhile, but in actuality, we finished this closet first. How much closet space does one couple need, you ask? Well, to be honest, it's almost entirely for my clothes too. Though Jeremy does in fact own clothes of his own. I thought it'd be his and hers, but it's more like hers and also hers, but he can share. For some reason, the only closet this apartment had was in the bathroom, which is a choice, and we knew it wasn't going to work for us. I mean, I guess everything would be kept perfectly steamed, but at what cost? So the paint is now dry, and overall I love the end result. But I did end up having to go back and do some retouching, which I totally expected. First, we lightly sanded down with a fine-grained sandpaper where there was any extra accumulation of paint. Even Jeremy got in on the action, because we can all benefit from alternative forms of therapy, and sanding things is such a therapy.
can we take a moment to appreciate just how gorgeous this turned out? Look at this color. Now, much like a couple of other pieces, if I turn it around, you can see the imperfections. As this will be covered with hangers, however, I doubt that they'll even be seen or noticed. So, to repaint or not to repaint? I mean, sure, we'll know it's there, but do we care? I can even make it the top rod, that's an option, and we'll all forget about this entirely in a week. Now, the other rod does need a bit more TLC, so I go ahead and prep that for repainting with the rest of our pieces. With the pieces prepped, I was able to go ahead and reapply that gorgeous, gorgeous color.
Full disclosure, I have whatever the boyfriend version of parental supervision is to keep me from completely fucking up this wall. That being said, let's install a closet. I don't actually need this drill bit, it just looks really cool and menacing and I wanted it for my intro. Let's go ahead and turn this off here. You ever just watch your cat sit out on your neighbor's roof while staring out into the city you ponder life? That's what's happening. So I don't have a lot of space width-wise. If you notice, when you walk in, it feels like a really tiny room. But what I do have is 10-foot high ceilings, which is why I have decided to go super vertical with my closet and install it all the way up.
All the way up!
Now there's a few different options we considered as far as drywall anchors. The toggle bolt they suggest we use says, "This is our forever home / we have money." But we actually opted for self-drilling plastic anchors that say, "We are poor renters and we'd really like our security deposit back someday." I want to clarify that I also wasn't planning on having the screws support 100 pounds of clothing. If you do need to hang something really heavy, you can certainly stick to toggle bolts. Just be mindful that if you are venting, when it comes time to remove the bolts, you're only removing the screw and allowing the bolt itself to remain behind and hopefully fall down to the floor in the space between your walls, where it will remain forever and ever till the end of time. The self-drilling anchors can actually leave with you and even be reused. I may or may not show you how in a future video if you're interested. Again, pre-drilling technically isn't necessary, and these can be installed with a screwdriver. The drill's just fun to use and satisfying.
That was really satisfying.
It's also easier to put my weight behind, because this wall definitely put up a fight.
Cut to the next day, and the structure's up. I didn't film that part because Jeremy did it. But now that the main structure is up, I can go ahead and get to assembling the rest of the closet pieces. Look at how beautiful that color came out. Even on the wall, which I'll probably end up painting this wall. I'm thinking like a lighter pink. We'll see. Ideally, I would have done the painting before installing that, but I love making things harder for myself. And I felt like it was important, as we're still kind of moving in here, to prioritize getting everything out of boxes, sorting, organizing, getting our systems in place before we went and did all the decorating stuff, painting, etc. But I'm glad I took time out to at least paint the actual closet system because it came out really beautiful. And I can't wait to show you all and see for myself what it all looks like when it comes to
To determine the height of the lower shelf, rather than continue to guess, I simply hung a shirt on the top rod and adjusted the lower shelf accordingly. By the way, you can do something similar to determine the height of the top shelf. I probably should have mentioned this earlier. I knew I wanted to hang dresses, and that I wanted to be able to fit one of my IKEA shelves for additional storage underneath. So if you want to do something similar, grab a long dress or jumpsuit and measure up from your storage shelf, and that will give you your ideal height. Now, my shelf would have fit perfectly, except that I forgot to account for the bottom rack, wherein I would also be hanging clothes. Now this gives me about 2 feet of storage width-wise versus the full 4 feet, but I quickly take up all the free space with random crap anyway, and I do eventually find a new home for the shelves and more. Now it was time for a quick and satisfying cleaning. And voila!
I love how this turned out. Now, some of the spray paint is already starting to fleck off, but that's okay, you know? It'll just make it look more worn, more vintage. And I can always go back and touch that up. I do eventually want to go back and take that spray paint color and actually color in the screws to match. It also does come with plastic caps for the ends, and I'm also going to paint those to match before adding them on here.
Editing Yissel here to follow up with an important note. While the metal parts dried perfectly, the vinyl coated shelf itself is still tacky to this day. So I did end up having to place a liner above it to keep the paint from coming off on my bags. Oops. The reason being, according to the internet, is that the vinyl absorbed the solvent needed to evaporate and harden the paint. So use caution when painting the shelf part and look for a paint with a primer specifically for vinyl to start off your project.
Now that the closet building is out of the way, I can start tackling all this. Can't wait. Send help. I know you want to go out, bud. I know you want to go out, but I cannot let you out. I appreciate that you want to go outside. It's not going to work on me this time. You don't have a chip. You don't have a collar. It's not even you that I don't trust. It's the neighbors. I'm trying to talk to you, and I feel like you're just talking over me, and we're not having an actual conversation. Are you listening to me? Also, like, I literally just spray painted all of that, so the last thing I need is cat hair getting onto my still wet, freshly painted closet system. I know you don't understand right now, but I'm hoping that you will understand eventually. Well, for the most part, I think it was bleh. Why can't I talk and hold the camera at the same time?